Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live lecture of the semester. I'm really excited to have you all here with me digitally or otherwise. For those of you who do not know me, I do have a couple returning students, so shout out to you guys. But for those of you who have not met me, my name is Miss Ava Nguyen. You can call me Miss Nguyen, Professor Nguyen, whatever one works for you. I want to just start off by introducing our online class, how to navigate it, and tell you a little bit about my course expectations and how my online class is going to run. Of course, this information is also available on the syllabus, but I think it's also really important that even though we are an online class, that we get that time to be able to kind of meet one another and talk to one another and have that kind of FaceTime a little bit, so that this class becomes a little bit more real to you and more workable for you. So this is actually the homepage to our course, so it should look something like this for you. I've set these 3 key buttons because I find that they are buttons that you're going to constantly go back to throughout the entire semester, and so because of that, that's why they're there. At the very top, you'll see the syllabus. Once you click on it, it should download for you, as it did for me right here, and should open up. One thing that I want to mention is that sometimes Canvas can be a little finicky with Internet Explorer, so I would be very careful about that, and just make sure that you're using Google Chrome or Firefox when appropriate. Another disclaimer I want to talk about before I jump into the syllabus and how to navigate our online course is that I am home with my 2 dogs right now. This is the day usually when I focus a lot of my energy in my online classes, and so because of that, you might hear some snoring coming from my English Bulldog and some barking coming from my German Shepherd. They're my roommates, so I apologize for that in advance, but this is also usually the time when the mailman comes, so we all know we have to defend the house from the mailman. So jumping right into our class, if you are in my 78 class, you should also see something similar to this, where again, if you click on the syllabus link, it should pop straight up and you should be able to see our syllabus. The syllabi are the same. The only difference is, of course, the course objectives, the assignments, and the scheduling, but no matter what online class of mine you are in, I'm gonna go ahead and say across the board expectations that I have for all of my courses, not even just my online courses, but my face-to-face courses as well. I have expectations for all of my students that I try to keep the same across the board, because I think it's really important that all my students are treated exactly the same and held to the same standards. So a little bit about me. I actually went to Cal State Long Beach. I got my bachelor's degree in journalism there initially and thought I wanted to be a journalist. Went out and worked for a little bit in the news media. I worked in KTLA Channel News 5 for a little bit, and I just didn't like it. And so I went back to school and got another liberal arts degree in communication studies. And because of that, I just love studying comm studies so much that I stayed and finished out my master's degree there as well. My main focus is intercultural communication, but in general, I'm just incredibly passionate about all human communication and ultimately the relationships we create and maintain through communication. And this is what really all of the courses are centered around. Of course, they have different specialties. So if you are in my family communication class, we're only going to focus on communication within the family. If you're in my interpersonal communication class, we are only going to focus on communication between dyads or pairs and how that builds different relationships. We'll be touching on romantic relationships as well as a little bit on friendships and career friendships as well. So for the online class, for those of you, if this is your absolute first time in an online class, welcome. I tried to make this class as straightforward as possible. I know that it can be really kind of weird when you don't physically attend class and be in that environment with a professor and other students to share in that learning environment. And I know that can be tough. And so if any time you feel frustrated with Canvas or you feel frustrated with the technology, always email me, message me, let me know. Be patient with it. I know that sometimes technology can be a little finicky, and if something doesn't work out, all you have to do is always just screenshot what you see, let me know, and I can work with you, okay? So I want to call your attention to the very first page of the syllabus. I know, quite honestly, many students kind of gloss over the syllabus. I know I did too as a student, but it's an incredibly important document and contract that you have with me and that I have with you. It sets out the expectations that you have for this course and the expectations I have for you in this course and what you can ultimately expect from me as well. And so here I kind of divided up the time to introduce you, for those of you who are new, to what it is to what it means to take an online class. And what it means to take an online class is that traditionally what you would have in a basic 3-unit face-to-face course is that you would have class meetings that are about 45 to 48 hours a semester. Outside of that, you would also be studying, reviewing, completing homework, so on and so forth. And that would be an expected 36 to 42 hours as well. And of course, we don't have class meetings in our online class. So because of that, our online class meetings, as you can see there, are going to be those 45 to 48 hours. So you are expected to spend 45 to 48 hours online on our module, watching our lectures and participating in our discussions. I've uploaded all of my video lectures that you would normally see if you were in my face-to-face class to our online forum. I will say very bluntly that I know a lot of students do not watch my lecture videos in full. They log on, they watch 15 minutes, and they are like, okay, I'm done, and then they go and try to do the assignments, which you can skirt by the assignments, but that's not a long-term successful solution for you. And you're also selling yourself short because you're not getting the full breadth and depth of our course materials, and you're not getting ultimately what you paid for in this course. So it's really important that you watch my lecture videos in full. Of course, they are very long. They are exactly the amount of time that you would spend in a face-to-face class, which is usually about an hour and 20 minutes. If you feel like, whoa, I can't sit here and watch a YouTube lecture for an hour and 20 minutes, I totally understand that. Go ahead and break them up. Watch 15 minutes here, 30 minutes here, you know. Try to find time throughout the week to watch them little by little. It's important to make sure that you take that time to do that. One last thing I want to mention is that outside of those lectures and discussion forums, you will also, of course, be completing homework. So that includes taking your quizzes, doing your journals and assignments. Those are things that you also need to allot time for, in addition to reading our textbook and watching my lectures and participating. And so to be a successful online student, I've put some tips here that are not only from me, but from previous students of mine that I've reached out to them and said, what do you think you need to be successful in this course? And this is a summation of a lot of what they told me. And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you are a self-starter in your own learning, meaning that you wake up and you're like, I have to take care of my online class. I have to do that. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to do well. Because there is no face-to-face class meeting, you really have to self-motivate and self-push yourself to make this class real. I will try my best, of course, as I said before. I've put online videos. I try to do streams like this, but if you are not the one trying to make time and allot time for this online course, you will not be successful. You must treat this course as if it were a face-to-face course. And that's kind of what I have here. Don't look at this class as, oh, this last minute thing that I have to do because things are due on Friday. This is something that you should be allotting time for throughout the week in order to be successful. Oftentimes students say like, well, Miss Wynn, this is a lot of work for me to complete by Friday. And I would remind you that you had since Monday to do it, meaning that you had about 5 days to watch the lecture, do the reading for the week, and complete the assignments, which is basically the same amount of time that you would be spending in a face-to-face class anyway. I've really tried to not make this easier or harder than any of my face-to-face classes. I've calculated average hours of time expected for you to spend on this class, and it's the exact same as a face-to-face class. The only benefit that you get from being in an online class is the convenience. So I'm sure a lot of you work or you have really crazy hectic family schedules, and that's why you're in this class, and that's why this class works for you. And honestly, that's why why us as a department, we're trying to offer these classes for you, because we want students like you who work and have crazy schedules to still be able to stay on track and take the courses that they need. And so because of that, please make sure that this is not just an online class. This is a class that is offered online, but it should be treated the same as your face-to-face classes. I also want to mention that once I grade something, you can't resubmit it for a new grade. I've had students do this in the past where I've graded a journal, for example. They weren't happy with their grade and they redid it without my knowledge or my permission and said, hey, Miss Wynn, I resubmitted it. Can you regrade it? And again, I'm going to be a broken record. I treat you just the same as I treat my face-to-face classes. So when my face-to-face classes turn in a small assignment and I grade it and I give it back, they don't get to just redo it and resubmit it if they want to. That is something that doesn't contribute to your growth as a student, and also would be incredibly tough on me to be grading and regrading 35 different students' assignments. So please keep note of that. Once you see an assignment that is graded, it is graded and it is done. I do, however, in my grading always give you the benefit of the doubt. So when I'm reading your journal and I can kind of tell that you're trying to hit on a concept, I will always award you points where I see that you are making a concerted effort to master the concepts. I always grade you a little bit up, not down, if that makes sense. I come into it with a growth mindset and not a deficit mindset. So the grade you see is the grade with me considering all the positive aspects I could about your assignment and providing that to you. Lastly, student behavior on Canvas. So I'll let you read this part on your own, but I want to reiterate two things. One, you are required to learn how to use Canvas. I'm here to teach you how to communicate. I'm here to teach you communication theory. I am not an IT person, and I am not here to teach you how to use Canvas. Of course, I've tried my best to give you resources and other related materials to help you use Canvas. There's a Canvas student guide on our homepage under class resources. However, beyond that, there is not anything else beyond my responsibility to help you. It is per Chaffee College Distant Ed policy. It is your responsibility to learn how to use Canvas. So not knowing how to use it is not an acceptable excuse for not turning in an assignment. Of course, I'm always here to help you for pointers. So if you're like, Miss Wynn, I can't figure out why I can't upload my paper, of course, I'll help you. What I'm saying here in this paragraph is you can't use the fact that you didn't know how to use Canvas as an excuse for why you didn't turn something in. And so, of course, here I've also put 2 LibGuides and 2 links to help you further understand how to use Canvas. Canvas is pretty straightforward, quite honestly, and I've also made sure to not construct any of my assignments for them to be complex or hard to deal with or hard to submit things for. Your weekly assignments, for example, once you click on submit, a box will pop up and that's where you put your answer. So I've tried to make it as straightforward as possible, but I just want to reiterate that it is your responsibility to look at assignments in advance, to try to learn Canvas now during this first week of class so that you don't fumble and fall behind later on trying to figure out how to use it. Next up, like I said before, practice time management. But the key thing I also want to highlight on this page is please, please, please use all resources that I have given to you. That includes our textbooks, our library guides, Poe Panther Librarian Online that I'll install into Canvas where you can talk to a librarian live if you need help. My Prezi slides, my lecture videos, me. I am here as your resource, as your biggest resource. If you do not understand something, you need to let me know. And I will try my best to always respond to you as promptly and as thoroughly as possible. But when you are writing your journals, your papers, your assignments, do not go on to Google and type in nonverbal communication or interpersonal communication or whatever topic we are studying that week. Do not do that. A lot of students do it. They read multiple sources on Google, which you know cannot always be accurate or complete, and then they go to our lectures and they get confused, and they read the textbook and they get confused. Do not make yourself work harder, make yourself work smarter. Trust that I have tried my best to provide you everything I think you need to succeed in this course. And if it is not enough for you, then that's when you call me and we can make a phone call appointment, and I will spend as long as you need to explain things over the phone or video chat to you. But please do not go onto Google. I had a student who basically I had to give him a very low grade on his nonverbal paper because he was Googling things and using things from Google and citing. And those things were not incorrect, but they had nothing to do with our course and nothing to do with our prompt. And so I had to unfortunately give him a 0 on the paper because he did not answer the prompt at all. But yet he put in so much work into that paper. So again, please use resources that I have given you to help you. And if they are not enough for you, because I get it, every student learns differently, that's when you contact me and we work together, right? I don't want you diving into Google and doing research for 2 hours that ultimately ends up fruitless for you. And then you get really frustrated, right? And then I feel that I'm kind of stuck in a bad place as your instructor because I have to grade what you give me. Of course, lastly, practice academic integrity. There is absolutely no room in this class. I run everything that I'm suspicious of through Turnitin. So if there's something that doesn't sound like your voice and who you are, and trust I spend a lot of time reading your discussion posts and your journals week to week to week, and I get to know you. So if there's something weird about one of your journal posts or weird about one of your papers, I will kind of get whiff of it. I'll run it through Turnitin, and if it pops up anywhere from the internet, I'll know. And that is a time when I will have to pull you aside, give you 0 on the assignment, and talk to you about that. If it is a continual problem, meaning it happens more than once, I will report you to the Dean of Student Behavior, and they will deal with you. Of course, this has not ever really been an issue in my classes. I've only ever had to warn a student, but I want to put this policy here to be really explicitly clear. I just don't tolerate it. I expect you to be able to produce your own work, and I expect that what I'm reading from you every week is your own thoughts, your own words, and your own mind. Lastly, grade administration policies. If you have any questions about an issued grade, you have 2 weeks from the assignment deadline to let me know whether or not you have questions about it. I will not change a grade unless I calculated it incorrectly. I will be more than happy to explain my grading rationale. But like I said, every time I grade, I always bump you up. I always give you the benefit of the doubt. I always try to give you more as much as I can. And so the grade you see is me giving my absolute best effort in grading you in a space where I think the points reflect what you have earned and where I am not compromising my ethical responsibility as an instructor to be fair to all my students. If you are someone that identifies as a person with a disability, or you identify as a DPS student, do these 2 things. Always inform me and let me know. And also please make sure that you meet with a counselor in the DPS office as soon as possible. Lastly, you can see that here's a page for our assignments. Of course, this is just a summary. This is not where the full instructions are. The instructions are actually located on Canvas by the weekly modules. So you'll find full pages of instructions and expectations for every big assignment that I have. So papers and things like that will always have big assignments. Journals will have prompts for every week. You'll have a different prompt. So journals will each have their own set of instructions every week. Assignment policies, I do not accept late work at all. This is because I feel that my students can rise to that really high standard of just meeting things on time. And because of that, that's why I've tried to start off the semester with all of your assignments available on Canvas. The only ones that are not available are your midterm and final exams, and that's because those are sensitive assessment materials. But I do not accept any late work, and that is because I really feel that it's important to practice time management, and if I am not promoting that skill, I feel that I'm doing you a disservice. And so I do not accept any late work. the only time I do is in the event of an emergency, and I define emergency for you right here, meaning that you got into a car accident, you were suddenly ill and you didn't know, your child or spouse was suddenly ill, and in those cases I will ask for documentation. Documentation for me means any kind of proof that your emergency happened, and it has a name and a date on it that shows me when it happened and that you were involved, and that's it. So if it's anything medical, I don't need to know your symptoms. I don't need to know your diagnosis. I don't need to know any of that personal information. I just need to know that you were visiting a doctor at this time. And so, of course, at all doctors or hospitals, they will give you kind of notes or a visitor's pass or something, right, that'll show that you went to the hospital either for your spouse or for your child or for yourself. On a certain date. And so that's what I'll be looking for. So by that definition, an emergency is something that is extenuating circumstances, meaning you had no idea it was going to happen and it severely prevented you from turning in the assignment on time. This does not include things like going on vacation, going to weddings, having a job. Those are things that you know about in advance. And if you know about them in advance, you should be doing assignments in advance. Of course, if you ever are going out of town or you want to do something in advance, I'm here. So if you're like, Miss Wen, I'm going on vacation, but the time I'm going on vacation, our nonverbal paper is due. Would you mind if we set up an appointment and you could give me a quick mini lecture and help me catch up and read ahead to chapter 6? I would love that. But you can't go on vacation, for example, miss a deadline, come back and say, hey, I need to turn in this paper. So I hope that's explicitly clear. If you have any questions, always let me know. I put a little graphic here to help you understand what you should do when you miss a deadline. You let me know immediately by email. You attach your documentation and your assignment. And if the emergency kept you from completing it, so let's say you got, one of my students literally had her laptop stolen from her computer, so she literally could not turn in her work because it was in her laptop. I gave her an extra couple weeks, right, to do the assignment. Of course, every situation is a little bit different, but let's say you had to go to the hospital and you missed the deadline, but you have your paper, you would just attach your paper to that email as well. Here are my grading policies. You can see in the little donut chart, I've tried to provide you these numbers in different ways so you understand. Please note that projects and assignments, chapter, activities, forums, those are the ones that have the most weight. This is for my 78 class, but the same actually goes for my ComStud 4 class as well. So none of your assignments, if you look at that donut, outweigh are smaller than your exams. Because of this, I used to take a lot of classes in college where the entire class would be just 1 or 2 exams, right? So if you failed an exam, you basically failed the whole course. And I'm not a very good test taker. And so for me, I kept that in mind when designing my course. So of course, I do have to test you. I do have to assess you. That's part of my responsibility. But notice that your exams here are roughly 18 to 20% in all of my classes. And your assignments are far more than that. So lastly, I want to point to student resources. You will have to turn in papers for this class. So if you don't have Microsoft Word, it is free for you. And I can't stress how important this is for any college student to have Microsoft Word. So right here is the Microsoft Office website. It's the official website. Don't worry, it's not some weird pirate phishing LimeWire download website. It's the real website. All you have to do is make an account with them using your Panther email. So it has to be your school email, and you will be able to download Microsoft Word to your computer for free, right? It also includes Excel and PowerPoint as well. So I cannot stress enough how important it is that you have that. If you don't turn in something using Microsoft Word, for example, you turn it in using Pages, and I can't read it, I'm going to say, I can't read your paper. I will not accept, oh, I don't have Microsoft Word as an excuse, because it's right here and it's free for you, right? All you have to do is just click on it and download it. And lastly, I want to call your attention to our calendar. This is the calendar for my ComStud 78 online class. So, but the format is pretty much exactly the same for my ComStud 4 class. And I want to note that I've tried my best to be very explicit with this calendar, when things are, what we're covering every week. So I put a column for what we're doing every week, what's due online, and what you should be prepping for. Because I'm a very future-oriented person. I very much think that it's important that you also are prepping for the future, and that's how you are successful. This is the schedule for my CompStud 4 class, if you're out there. And so for me, I really think that I try to make a calendar that is useful for you, and please use it as a tool. So I've tried to put little check marks to remind you, like, these are things you need to do, like actually need to do, and things that you should be reading and reviewing. So these aren't perhaps assignments that you're turning in, but these are important pieces of information that you have to review, read, understand, and comprehend in order to achieve these little check marks, right? So that's really what that is for. Now, going back to our homepage, it should look very similar to this, if not exactly like this for you. So you can see here that you can click on our weekly modules, and you'll see that it'll bump you to every single week. Every week, for example, has a video lecture, video slides, and 3 different assignments, usually a journal, discussion board, and a quiz. I do rotate between them every week to kind of keep it fresh, keep it exciting, you know? But of course, these are the expectations for you every single week. Remember that you're not in class, so this is really what you would be doing in class, and what you would be turning in. Outside of that, the last thing I want to talk about is making sure that you download the Canvas app. And so the Canvas app is super important. And I can't stress how important it is for an online class where you would never meet with me face to face and you would never see me regularly. So having the app on your phone is so awesome, because we've all done it where we're out and about, you know, you're going grocery shopping, you're at work, you're wherever, and you're like, shoot, like, do I have something due for my online class? Or like, did I miss something this week or what? And then you tell yourself, oh, I'll check when I get home. And we all forget to check when we get home. I do it all the time. I'm at work and I'm like, oh, like, I think I should do that. And then I totally forget to do it. So I love the app because it means that you don't have to be at a computer to check our class. Of course, you can't do everything on the app because, you know, you should really be doing everything at a computer. But the app is great if you just need to check something on the syllabus, look at our course calendar, check our deadlines to see what's due this week. Send me a quick message. If you download the app, actually on the far right hand side, it's really bad, you can't see it here, but on the far right hand side, there's a little like mail letter looking thing. If you click on it, you can go ahead and send me a message anytime. So if you're like, ooh, I need to ask Ms. Nguyen this question, boom, wherever you're at, you can write me a message right away from your phone. You don't have to be at your computer. And that way you also don't have to fumble around with logging into your chafy email and all of that nonsense. I know that sometimes that can be really frustrating. It makes you kind of sign into 700 CAPTCHAs and do all these things. So I cannot stress enough how cool the Canvas app is, because it's a way for you to just check stuff. It's also a good way for you to check whether or not I've graded something. So when I've graded something, it should send you a push notification saying I've graded it, and you can read my submission comments when you're on the go too and be like, oh, okay, Ms. Nguyen graded this. This is a grade I got. It's just so nice to have our class in your pocket because you don't see me on a regular basis. So it's just another way, another modality for you to constantly stay connected to us and feel like, you know, this is a real class. The last thing I want to point to is class resources right here on our homepage. I've tried to set up some resources that are helpful. Here's a link to my YouTube channel. If you're here, you made it. So there you go. Next is student journal samples. So these are journal samples from previous students that all got A's, and I kind of marked down why they got A's. So if you are someone that really wants to aspire to 100% on all your journals, this is what you would do. You would click on the link it'll pop up this, and you can kind of see my comments right here, why this student did well. I even had a student here in this journal, they actually answered the question incorrectly, but they're trying really hard. They're giving multiple examples. They still got 100%. And that's my last thing I want to say. I recognize that we're in an online class. I recognize you probably are really uncomfortable learning like this if this is your first time, and I've set aside that consideration for you when I'm grading. So for me, even if you answer the prompt completely wrong, but you're giving examples, you're analyzing, you're deconstructing the week's concepts, and you're defining it in your own words and having that conversation with me, I will give you 100% on your journals, and at the same time redirect you and give you the right answer in my comment submission. So I'm always about trying to make sure that this is a learning experience for you, not a frustrating experience for you. So that is why it's so important that every week you touch base with those comments. So you can kind of have that conversation with me. I also put a reading guide. This is actually by Cornell University, so they did a great job teaching you how to read a textbook. Reading a textbook can be overwhelming because, you know, there's just any textbook I really think is just really long, has lots of pages, lots of concepts, lots of things thrown at you. This is a way for you to tackle reading our textbook one bit at a time without feeling overwhelmed. This is how to download the Canvas app, the app that I was just talking about, and how to use Canvas. So I sent this out as a message, but I want to reiterate that you should try to set your notifications like this. Again, I stress that this is just for my class. This is what I found works for my class. If you have other classes on Canvas, make sure you're checking those classes too and getting the right notifications as needed. But for me, this is all really I think you need to be notified about. I think you really just need to be notified about my announcements, my grading, and my submission comments. The only other time that I would like for you to have push notifications is for due dates, which is up here. So I recommend that you tell Canvas to send you weekly reminders about due dates, and also push notifications to the app on your phone. So the second column is for the app on your phone. The first column is straight to your email. And lastly, I put an email guide for those of you who are not familiar with how to write professional emails. Here's a general template. And most importantly, in my opinion, resources to help you with self-care. Semesters are long and stuff happens. And so I put resources here to help you with both your physical and mental health resources. These are resources that I've kind of collected that I know we either offer in our area or on campus or are really easily accessible to you. I try not to put any resources that cost money, that cost insurance, because I know that y'all ain't got time for that. I don't have time for that. So these are things that are here to help you. So this is how to talk to someone who is struggling with mental health. These are resources if you are someone who is struggling with it. I have a couple lines for Crisis Chat, IMA Live, Trevor Project. These are resources that you can reach out to if you need professional support, either for someone else in your life or for yourself as well. This is our Student Health 101 magazine. I think it's really awesome. It's created by Chafee. A lot of students don't know about it, but I think it's really cool. There's recipes for healthy eating. There's also nutrition guides for like fast food. So it'll tell you what's the healthiest things you could get from like McDonald's. I mean, that seems like an oxymoron, but y'all know what I mean. Like, so if you're in a crunch and you're at McDonald's and you just want to try to eat healthy, it'll list the healthiest top 3 things you can get at McDonald's, for example. Really cool. Exercising, and again, some things on motivation, sleep. Basically a really great resource to help you take care of yourself. Things like, oh, I cut myself. How do I make sure I don't get an infection? Really cool things like that to help you with those resources. So that is it. The last thing I want to talk about is Google Hangouts, and that is how you and I will chat. So what you will do is you will go to Hangouts, as I'm really horribly trying to type right now, at google.com. It's completely free. You can use your Panther email account or an existing Gmail account, and it's really awesome. You can message me, although you won't probably really be using that because you have Canvas to message me. But most importantly, you can call me and you can video call me, which is really awesome. So you can do this on your laptop, of course. and on your tablet and phone as well. If you are on tablet, or you're using a tablet or a phone, you have to download the app, but it's available for Android and for iPhone. I love this because it's free for students. It's easy for you to use. All you do is you add me. It's at Professor Ava Nguyen as a friend, and then we can video call, phone call one another during my online office hours. That's what they're for. They're just for you. It's when I tell my face-to-face classes. Not right now, like my priority is my online classes. And so this is when you would talk to me if you have any concerns, any extra needs, any extra support, you're not getting something, you need more examples, you have questions about your career, you're wondering what classes to take, you want some advice, like all of that kind of stuff. That's what that is for. And so like I said, since it is also an app available on your phone, you don't have to be home to do it. So you could honestly call me. A lot of students call me during their lunch break from work. A lot of students also call me, you know, when they're out and about or whatever. We squeeze in time, right? And if you're not available during my online office hours, I tried to set them late Wednesdays, around 4 o'clock. And so, but if you're not available, we can do any other time. Just message me. My schedule changes week to week because in addition to teaching, I am serving on a lot of committees, and I'm doing a lot of work on Rancho and Chino campus, even though I'm based at Fontana as well. So I'm running around a little crazy sometimes, but I always try to prioritize and make time for my students. So if that means I need to step out of a meeting to take a call with you, I will do that, right? If it's absolutely necessary. All right. With that being said, I want to kind of look at the chat and see who's here. I know a couple people had to leave because of work. So shout out to y'all for at least trying to stay for 5 minutes. But it looks like Janine is here, Kate Castillo, Valerie Toth, Jason, Ashanti, I think that's you. Armstead? Yes, hi. Janae, Caitlin, Barry, Maria, Melissa. Hey, how's everyone? Jacqueline, Angela, Anissa, Bonnie, Emma, and Caitlin. Hello. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask me in chat. Otherwise, I'm really happy that you're all here. We kind of get to meet me a little bit. But I know, of course, this is not the only time you can ask me questions, but any other questions you want to ask me, now would be the time. Otherwise, I believe I've covered everything I want to cover. Oh, one last thing maybe I might want to show you is my lecture slides. So you can look here. And I've embedded all my lecture slides, so you can kind of see my Prezi slides as well. These are my lecture slides. And these are the same slides I use in my video chat, for those of you who are wondering. But it doesn't look like I'm getting any questions in the chat, but I'm really excited to have kind of met you all, my 14 people that are here. So thank you so much for being here. I will document that you were here and provide you some extra credit for being here as well. And thank you so much for joining our class live lecture today. Oh, Roxy has asked, how do you get to the lecture slides? Oh, Roxy, you just click on lecture slides, my dear. So if you, the same for all my online classes, it just is labeled lecture slides. So you would click on lecture slides for each week, and it should pop up like this, as you can see right here. And you would just sift through these slides. You can full screen it as well and kind of look through them. And these are the exact same lecture slides that you actually see me use in my videos. So for example, this is chapter 1's lecture slide. If you click on chapter 1's video lecture, you see that in my background, I'm actually using the exact same slides here, right, as I'm talking and lecturing through it. I just offer the slides as extra, like you want to look at them again but don't want to watch the video. It's just an extra resource for you. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Message me if you have any questions. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all online. Bye.